Joe Rogan keeps returning to the idea that aliens might have been visiting us for millennia. But what if the proof is sitting right there in the oldest writings we have? And what does that say about who we really are?
A lot of people, I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings, and the darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said something that they talked to him about when he was working on these back-engineered crafts, is that what they use us as is vessels for that we are souls. We hold souls, and that this is essentially a farm, and this is how they develop souls through us, and that what our soul is. I mean, if you had to imagine what our soul is some force, something that they farm here with us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
That's what Bob said?
He's talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories.
Bob Lazar claimed aliens view humans as vessels or containers for souls, with Earth serving as a farm to develop and harvest them for energy or other purposes.
It has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. And
Tucker's talked about the demonic part of it. Yeah. What did Diana say?
Well, this is what some of these people think, is that these things have always been here, and they are a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture.
That puzzle about our true nature grows a lot more complicated once long-term alien visits meet claims of genetic meddling straight out of science fiction. Speculation about mere presence suddenly deepens into something that might rewrite humanity's biological story altogether.
This Richard Dolan book is all about these different hybrids of aliens and humans that have been encountered in various people's abduction experiences that are the same story. Cool. The same story over and over and over again.
Richard Dolan is a leading UFO historian. His book, The Alien Agendas, analyzes abduction reports of alien-human hybrids via genetic engineering and sexual encounters for sperm extraction.
Cool. Universally worldwide. And there's a bunch of different types of hybrids that they've sort of documented.
What are they?
Well, they think that what's going on is, the best guess is they're doing some sort of genetic engineering, either on humans or have done it on humans, or are using human DNA for maybe another project they're doing. But it has something to do with breeding, and it has something to do with genetic engineering. But like, some of them say that they're forced to have sex with female aliens, like a female sexy alien comes in, and but it sounds real. It doesn't sound like it really happened, but it sounds like if I was an alien and, I was running science experiments. Yeah. One best way to make it like the least traumatic to get the jizz out of your body is to devise a really hot, like, female alien that's mostly like a woman, like almost entirely like a human woman.
Do you think they tried other ones before they got to like a hot woman?
I think every now and then they need some pure human DNA, and that's when they get a dude to fuck her.
Oh, dude.
And they're probably the most sensual, the sweetest, because they need the most cum. They want all of it. They want all that cum.
How lucky are you? How lucky are you to get picked?
One of these guys in this story had this recurring experience.
Oh, man, that would be just so wonderful to realize that you'd been picked and this hot...
I think it would ruin your life. I think it would make going back to work impossible. You just fucked an alien. Now you have to do paperwork. You have to do nonsense, stupid paperwork for your insurance company when last night you fucked an alien You went into a craft that was the size of a VW bus, and inside of it was like a football stadium.
Fuck yeah.
And then you got down with this female alien in a sexy time room.
7 feet. 7 beautiful feet. And
whoa.
You know you're
She has 7 feet? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
I think it's a human looking alien.
Well, you could, I mean, if you're genetically engineering something to fuck, like, why does it have to be
because it has to turn the guy on.
Well,
he said it was like a sexy woman, but just something was different. The
no,
eyes
I
were
mean,
bigger.
it's a
yeah,
sexy...
like Species.
with-
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was exactly what that movie was about, right?
You would,
That's right. That was a good movie. Not really, but a fun movie.
No, that was
a
fun.
fun movie.
That was...
Once the idea of genetic meddling is on the table, the next leap feels almost inevitable. What if these visitors can alter not just our genes, but our entire appearance? The parallels that emerge with ancient accounts of shape-shifting jinn make the modern gray alien stories feel less isolated than ever.
If we had this debate back in the 1800s, there were these things called the airships, right? Nobody really understood what they were. And if you go back to biblical times, right, there were, the wheels, and there were all these weird flying chariots and things, and they didn't know what they are. But each time we try to interpret them based upon our current understanding of technology. Just like the metaphors I was talking about earlier in religions, the same happens with these kind of events, right? Chariots is the best way for people to explain something in the sky because that's a technology they understand.
Right. Whitley Strieber is an American author best known for his 1987 bestseller Communion, a nonfiction account of his alleged alien abduction experiences that popularized the gray alien image.
So today, aliens is a way to explain UFOs because at least we, just like the planet Krypton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's past the 10-year-old test, right?
Right.
You can say aliens, whereas, back in the time of Kepler, who actually many consider to be the first science fiction writer, even though, he came up with Kepler's laws of motion, he wrote some fiction about visitors and from other planets and stuff, right? Back then, it was so bizarre to talk about that it was just outside of what people understood, but it was also outside of what the dominant institutions of the time, which was the church, right? During Galileo and Kepler's time, the church was the dominant institution. And so you didn't want to say things that are outside. What's happened now is we have science has become the dominant institution. And so people within academia, feel like they're constrained and they want to be careful in the same way that people were back then to talk about this weird stuff. And so I think when you get into some of these other explanations, it's more likely because the phenomenon has so many different aspects. Like, so for example, I was talking with Whitley Strieber recently. I don't know if you've ever had him on.
No.
He wrote
I'm aware of Communion.
Communion, which, because Communion has had that gray head, alien head on the cover, it's become kind of the dominant thing. But he was talking about a story recently, which again sounds so bizarre, right? About a young man who, he talked about this on the air, so I can share it publicly. But he said there was a young man who claimed that he had met this young woman, and they got into a physical relationship, and then one day she calls him over to her house. Okay, and this sounds totally batshit crazy, and she says, "I'm a gray alien," and then she transforms into like a gray alien, and then she transforms back into the human, and then she says, "And I'm pregnant, with our child, and I'm going to take that child back to our people, and you're never going to see me again." Okay, so from our normal understanding of reality, that's just ridiculous, right?
Right.
In so many ways, right? But when I was looking at like the stories from medieval times and in the Islamic traditions, there's actually almost identical stories of men who would meet these jinn women. They would have children with them, and one day the jinn woman would say, "I'm taking the children back into the world of the jinn." Right, who are like these entities that exist in a parallel dimension. Like they're here, but they're not here. So they step in and out of physical reality. And it was like almost identical to the story that people were having today. And so, is it possible that many of these old folk stories are describing entities that exist outside of our physical reality and they're able to come in and out? I mean, when you think of a woman turning from a human to a gray alien, what does that sound like? To me, it sounds like she has an avatar, right, that is projected, just like you can do inside a video game. You can like change your avatar at various times. Maybe there's certain rules that only allow it at certain points in the game. You're allowed to do that. And maybe they know how to do it because they're more advanced users of the simulation than we are. Or maybe they're already projecting into our simulation. So I think some of these other explanations may be a better fit than the simple alien hypothesis, even though I think, I think there are. I mean, look, I've met probably 4 or 5 people who have told me off the record, confidentially, I don't think they mind if I express it without mentioning who they are, that they have been part of the reverse engineering program, or they have seen the anti-gravity stuff that we have created based on UFOs, based on technology.
If they can reshape us so completely, what does that imply about the variety of forms they themselves might take? The discussion quickly leaves behind any single type of visitor and opens onto a much stranger menagerie of intelligences that redefines the entire alien presence.
I mean, the craft with that Tic Tac was going from sea level to 80,000 feet, which is space, and hovering in space, going back down, hovering at sea level, and doing this for hours. We don't have anything. One of the scientists who was involved in one of the UAP programs for the government in my film does the math and says the energy required to do that is the electrical output of the entire United States for, I think he said, a week. Some stupid amount of energy required.
I think it's even more than a week, but yeah, I remember him saying that.
It's bonkers.
And that's
I don't
just
think it's human
the
technology.
Trip up.
Yeah, and they were doing that all day.
All day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Right, if they had that in 2004.
In UFO lore, these are alleged non-human types. Greys, small gray humanoids. Nordics, tall whites. Tall human-like. Reptilians, lizard-like. And mantis, insectoid beings from encounter reports.
Which is the Tic Tac incident. You would think there would be some just insane progress.
Yeah.
So if it's not ours, what is the predominant theory of what they are?
The predominant theory is that they is multiple species, and there's no one answer. Everyone I talk to who has real visibility to the crash retrieval program says the non-human bodies that have been recovered in some of these crafts all look different. There are multiple species. The universe is full of life.
How many different species?
I've heard of at least 4 body types that were recovered.
So all I've heard of is the Greys, which is like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind ones. The Nordics, which is also known as like the tall whites, right? Is that the same thing?
I've heard people say it.
And then there is the reptilians. People talk about reptilians being the scariest one.
No one's ever used that word with me, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there's mantis. There's ones that are like insect-like.
I've heard people say that, yeah.
I haven't heard of any more than that.
Yeah. Well, I've also heard multiple military people talk about little beings that almost look like E.T., little bots that don't seem sentient, that seem like they're almost like
a robot?
Yeah, like a robot almost, yeah.
Some artificial creation?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You would imagine if you get to genetic engineering and when there's cyborgs and you integrate technology with this genetic engineering, you're going to be able to create like workers.
Yeah.
Like that's what many people have thought the Greys are. Like there's small Greys that they're more in like a workforce capacity.
I've heard that.
They just do the bidding of the taller Greys, which seem to be more intelligent.
After mapping out that stranger menagerie of forms, the focus turns to whether any of them might be actively shaping our world from within. Could they be using avatars to influence culture? And where does that leave those old stories of reptilian overlords?
Maybe they're already here. Maybe the people we think are humans are actually avatars from an alien civilization. They cloned them so that they appear to be like us. Who knows?
Well, if I was an alien and I wanted to influence human culture and life, I would most certainly dress up like a person.
Right, be an avatar, genetically cloned.
Yeah.
A human that's been cloned, raised as an alien, but cloned, and then living among us, so they are indistinguishable from other humans.
There was an old one of those pulp comics that was about a professor who was absent-minded and didn't realize until one point in time, oh, I forgot I'm an alien. And he
spent his whole life.
He had been here his whole life trying to educate human beings.
And then he forgot the fact that he was really an avatar, cloned on a distant planet, and mixing with humans as an experiment for the aliens.
Wouldn't that be the best way to implement that sort of if you wanted to get that sort of a reaction from a civilization, wouldn't you just implant aliens without them even knowing they're aliens?
Yeah, if they're cloned, they're genetically identical to humans. They look like us, talk like us, except they've been raised and brainwashed to be...
The reptilian overlord theory, popularized by David Icke, claims shape-shifting reptilian aliens secretly control world leaders and governments by disguising themselves as humans.
To live a life of an alien. But yeah, they could live among us and we'd never know.
See, that's what freaks people like me out when I talk to people like you. I'm like, maybe this guy's an alien. Like, he doesn't make it does. You're so much smarter than me. It doesn't make sense, right? So, like, if I think about someone who's studied physics his whole life and studied quantum physics his whole life, that language that you talk in, I don't know one word of it. So it's so the way you think is so different. You could be an alien.
Well, it's like the movie Men in Black, when you find out that most of the Hollywood celebrities
are all aliens.
They're all aliens.
All those theories of hidden cultural puppeteers and reptilian overlords still leave room for something far more personal. A dream so intense it destroys any hope of sleep and leaves the dedicated UFO enthusiast certain a real encounter just took place. Jesse Michaels is a filmmaker, investor, and host of the American Alchemy podcast focused on UFOs, UAPs, and fringe science topics. He has appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Let's dig into this.
I had a dream that I came on the podcast I had to talk about because it was the absolute strangest, most realistic dream of my life. And it was a dream where I encountered these beings that were not human. And it was insanely realistic. They were very human-like. I think there was 4 of them. They were tall and thin, and they looked they didn't look human. Their heads were too big. Their eyes were too big. And I can't remember. I think they had teeth. I don't remember. But I remember they were joking with me. Like, they scared me, and they're like, just fucking around. Like, trying to get me comfortable with who they are. And they were communicating with me somehow or another through thoughts. And I was really freaked out because they seemed very, very real. It didn't seem like any other dream that I had. So much so that I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning and I just lay in bed for an hour trying to go back to sleep, and I couldn't go back to sleep. I was almost like, I'm not sleep. I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
And so I went to the gym, and I just worked out at 4 in the morning. And I worked out for like 2 hours. And after it was over, I got in the sauna, did the whole thing. And then I came to work. I was like, I have to talk about this right away because it was so strange. It was one of the only dreams that I've ever had that did not feel at all like a dream. It felt like I was encountering someone or something that was trying to get me comfortable with the idea of encountering them. It wasn't like a dream. I was in the corridor of something that seemed like it was not like it was from here. It was like from somewhere else, but it was almost like it was very oddly lit. Like the walls were lit in a very strange way, but it was almost like it was this corridor, but it had a feeling almost like it was organic. Like it was alive, like it was a living thing. It was very fucking strange.
What if that was? But what if that is something that you did, in fact, an experience that was taken out of your memory, and then it's stuck in your memory, and you're dreaming about it?
I don't know. I mean, you could maybe all day long, right? And so my feeling was that I had, and this is again, it clearly I was dreaming, right? So it clearly could have been just a dream. But what it felt like was that it was an actual encounter with intelligence that wasn't human. That's what it felt like. And it felt like these things were not us, and maybe they were what a human will be someday, because they were human-like, but they were very slender, they were very thin, and they were wearing these suits that were like almost like rash guards, like what surfers wear, but but a strange fabric. Like, it looked weird. And it was the color of their skin, but it was clear that they were wearing something. It didn't appear that they had any genitals. They had no muscle tone at all. They were just thin, and they were communicating with me and looking at me, and they were close, like where you are right now. And I think, like I said, I think it was at least 3 of them. I think there was 4 of them. But I remember there was one that was going like, bah! And then joking around with me, like trying to scare me.
Yeah.
And then and it felt to me after they did it like, relax, like this is okay, like don't be freaked out. Whatever this is, don't be freaked out. And then I woke up, and when I woke, and then there was also this weird reptilian element of it. There was like a barrier. They had a barrier, and they were feeding they were like pouring food to these things that almost like was letting me know the protection between you and this horrific danger that's out there in the world, in the universe, in life it's very thin. There's very thin protection. There's not much protection. It was just like a barrier, like a simple barrier, like a fucking blockade they put to keep a crowd from passing through an area to let you know you're not supposed to go here.
It's crazy crazy how much how long ago did you have this dream?
A few months ago.
But isn't it so wild that something that didn't happen can be locked in your memory, and then you're like, God, it affects you almost like it did.
Well, now it's like a memory of my recollection of the memory, which is odd, which is memories in general, which is why people distort memories and change them and make the past something that's not real. You've talked to people that, yeah, we all do it.
I do it on podcasts.
Yeah, everybody does it. But this was different. Whatever this dream was, I mean, look, there's a lot of confusion about what happens during sleep. We don't exactly know why you have dreams and what's the function of it, what's the purpose of it. But this one was different. It was much more realistic than any dream I had ever experienced before. Like the interaction between me and these creatures, these beings, was very different than anything I'd ever experienced in a dream. The point, like, I felt it physically. And I woke up. I can sleep on a bag of rocks. I can just go to sleep, dude. It drives my wife crazy because she struggles to sleep. And if we got on a plane, I just cock out because I'm always going. So, like, when it's downtime, I don't have a problem sleeping, dog. I can go to sleep. I'll sleep on a roof. I can sleep. I couldn't go back to sleep, which is really weird for me. I mean, I was wide awake at 4 a.m, And I'm like, okay, I'm going to the gym. Because I laid in bed for a whole hour trying to go back to sleep. So it's just a dream. Just go to sleep. I'm like, dude, just get up. You're not going to sleep. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm up. I'll just go work out. Like, maybe that'll help me go to sleep. Nope. I was wide awake. I wasn't even, most of the time when I'm working out, I'm either watching music or watching fights on TV. I didn't even do that. I was just by myself in silence trying to make sense of it. Just doing chin-ups and dips and trying to make sense of whatever the fuck that was. Because it just didn't seem like a dream. It felt so real. And when I've talked to, like, my UFO friends, from like Jesse Michaels, who's like really into UFOs, he's like, I think you had a real encounter. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it certainly felt like a real encounter. Whatever.
The conviction that a dream encounter was real still leaves open a far more radical possibility, one that turns to sleep states and the psychedelic chemicals our brains produce to ask whether abductions ever need to leave the mind at all.
Is it Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind that takes place in Alaska, where they combine the actual footage of the woman's real therapy sessions and stuff?
I don't know. I don't
Jamie,
think
you know
I
what
saw
I'm talking
that
about?
one. Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind?
It's third or fourth kind. Which one's the original movie?
Third kind.
So this one's fourth kind. I'm almost certain. Probably wrong.
I've never heard of it.
It's a really good movie. There's a woman up in I want to say Juneau, or no. What's the Nome, Alaska? And back in the day, she was she became famous because she claimed aliens were basically like showing up and abducting her and stuff, right? That eventually her kid got abducted by aliens, or so that's the case, and they accused her of like killing the kid or whatever it may be. Like, obviously, nobody believes that this woman's son was abducted. Her daughter was abducted by aliens.
So it's not currently available in our
Yeah,
country?
I think it's like in Canada. I think it's showing up weird.
You can only get it in Canada?
I don't know.
Go down to the what?
That's strange.
Interesting.
But they have it's a movie about this case, but they splice in real footage of her therapy session that she had to go to, that she was going to while she was being abducted each night. And they do this I don't really know how to describe it. This deep meditative state that makes you recall your dreams, and she's like describing all the things that were happening to her, these aliens, and she starts screaming, she starts like levitating up from the couch a little bit, like it's creepy as shit. But it's a really good movie. It's my favorite abduction movie I've ever seen. And obviously nobody believes her. She runs into the one person. Oh yeah, like that old footage is like the real footage.
Wow. So here's my issue with the alien abduction thing. Other than there's not like any real solid evidence that you could point to that's very convincing, it always happens at night. And it always happens during the periods where people sleep. And when you're sleeping, I'm not saying always, okay, I'm sure there's some stories out there, I'm sorry. But most of the stories I've ever heard are people in their bed, they can't move, aliens abduct them,
Paralysis.
or they're in a car, the car stops, they wake up, aliens abducted them. When you go to sleep and you dream, the
human brain produces trace amounts of DMT, a powerful psychedelic, which theories suggest releases during dreams and may cause vivid experiences resembling alien abductions.
are psychedelic chemicals that your brain makes, and we don't know how much they're making. We don't know what effect that's having on your dreams. We don't know what is going on. What is going on with dreams? What is going on with vivid dreams? What is going on with dreams that they're indiscernible from real life, and sometimes in a strange way. Like, what is that? Is that a psychedelic state your brain goes into every night?
Yeah.
And if chemicals vary in human beings, serotonin varies, dopamine varies, everything varies, testosterone varies, estrogen varies, it varies. Wouldn't you just assume those psychedelic chemicals would vary? And wouldn't you just assume that sometimes maybe even people are in very agitated, anxiety-ridden states, high cortisol levels, perhaps maybe those chemicals are coming out in an abundance too. Now,
So
if
hits a
you're
spike in it,
lying
yeah.
in bed and you're having an insanely vivid and terrifying interaction with aliens every night, because your brain is just dumping psychedelics into you. And this is your big fear. So you're going to get abducted by aliens again. And then there they are again, leaning over your bed and they're reaching for you. And
Constant
you're like,
paranoia.
and then here's the mind fuck of all mind fucks. Maybe psychedelics are a gateway to some other reality, some other dimension that's accessible by these creatures.
I like this.
And that when you are getting abducted, you really are getting abducted. Like whatever your being is, or your spirit, or whatever is you, is getting, you're interacting with these things. And it feels real because it is real. And because we're thinking about the ability to come in contact with other life forms as being a physical thing. It might be that there's a chemical gateway in your mind that when breached, you enter into a dimension where physical bodies don't exist anymore and everything moves in this constant soup of geometric patterns. And that whatever your consciousness is, whatever your soul is decoupled from.
Even if some abductions stay locked inside the head, the most famous stories claim something far more physical happened on remote roads, and Joe turns out to have a direct personal connection to the Betty and Barney Hill case through a fighter he knows. Betty and Barney Hill claimed the first major U.S. alien abduction in 1961 New Hampshire, with missing time and hypnosis recalled exams by gray-like beings.
Betty and Barney Hill?
No.
It's the very first UFO abduction story. It's an ancient story. And what's crazy is Angela Hill, who's a UFC fighter, I had her on the podcast. And after the show, she told me her grandpa was Barney Hill.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy fuck. Like, we didn't talk about it during the show, but she wanted to bring it up because she knows I'm kind of obsessed with UFOs. But the account that they have, like, they get hypnotized and he's recalling the abduction, and they have like the same story. It's very terrifying. You hear him crying and screaming, and you know that he was taken aboard this craft and examined and brought back, and they have missing time. But here's the thing: if they only did that occasionally, they only came down once every few years and just scooped some person up in the middle of some rural place. Like if you're flying over, you know, I think their instance was I believe it was in Maine. If you're flying over somewhere like Maine, which is a very low population state, and you see a lone car, and it's just traveling along the highway, and there's places in Maine where you go from like Portland to Bangor. When you're traveling on that road, it's like 60 miles with nothing, not a gas station, nothing. If you were an alien and you saw a car by itself, you're like, no other car, let's move in, we got one.
Isn't it just easier to think it's the U.S. government?
No.
Why not?
Because we don't have the capability of doing something like that. I don't think the capability of the scientists working for the government is any different than the capability of the scientists that are working for, you know, Project X, or, you know, fill in the blanks in terms of like what Raytheon, publicly traded companies. How
long? Look, quadcopters don't seem all that complicated to me. Right?
Quadcopters.
Yeah, like a
helicopters,
like drones. You know, we've seen the little drone toys you buy. They got 4 propellers. Take that concept, use thinner, you know, jets, and surround it in a disc so that it's, you know, universally, like it can move in any direction because it's got, you know, because it's omnidirectional. What power
source? Where's the gas tank?
Well, lithium-ion battery. Or
come on, man. You're talking space shit. Like this hasn't even been invented yet. Think about how little mileage you can get out of a Tesla.
You know,
as advanced as Tesla is, you know, still when it's going full out, it can only go for. I mean, you get 307 miles if you drive like a grandma, but if you drive like a maniac, you don't even get half that.
You know that they. I could be wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure that they had this flying platform in the 70s that uses gas power, and they've also had jetpacks for a long time.
No, they've had sort of. They've had jetpacks that are capable of going for like 30 seconds. They don't. I've experienced.
No. I'm pretty sure the jetpacks back in the day went for a long time.
No, they definitely didn't.
We can look it up.
Yeah, let's look it up because they definitely didn't. The whole thing was the fact they were burning gas, and to propel you in the air, they only had a certain amount.
I thought it was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Maybe now.
My understanding of why we abandoned jetpack technology was that it was inefficient and heavy, and you couldn't carry it without it being turned on. So they opted for larger, like, you know, like what are they called? Chinooks helicopters that can carry multiple people at once. When you're wearing a jetpack, it has to be on idle, negating its own weight, which means it's burning as you're walking around, which means you get a good 20-minute jump and you got to abandon the tech. And then you don't want your enemies to get it.
Have you ever seen a guy fly a jetpack?
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube.
No, I mean in real life.
Oh, I've seen that one guy, the Iron Man dude. Well, not in real life.
I've been there in real life. My friend Willie B from in Denver on the radio.
Yeah.
He had a radio show in the morning. I used to do his radio show. I think he still has a radio show. Shout out to Willie. And he had this guy who was a jetpack pilot who came in, and in the parking lot of the radio studio, and, you know, fans of the radio show came and did it too, and watched it rather. And this guy flew in the air for about 15, 20 seconds and then landed. This guy was so banged up. Both of his legs were blown apart. He had big braces on both of his knees. I'm like, what happened to your knees? He's like, just crash landing. Both my knees are blown to shit. He had no ACLs in either one of his knees. But
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's
jetpacks.
Good this is back then. It was good for about 30 seconds. 30 seconds of flying.
Well, so the point I was trying to get to is if you take something like a quadcopter, you could absolutely fuel it with you know, gas or
It'd be
whatever.
loud as fuck.
But it would depending on how you mitigate the noise.
It'd be an engine.
Yeah.
It'd be loud as fuck.
And you'd hear from the quad rotors.
Yeah, but what these people are describing is nothing like that. These people are describing things that are silent, that go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in a split second, things that defy physics as we understand them.
Yeah.
This is not something that I think that the U.S. government has. If you look at like Elon Musk company, Project X or SpaceX. SpaceX is right now one of the premier civilian companies, private companies that's making rocket ships. They fuck up all the time.
Totally.
They're in the middle of innovating all the time. He's one of the smartest people on earth. He's one of in terms of technology, he knows as much about propulsion as anyone, and they still can't get it right. They're still trying to figure it out. They're trying to come up with something that could be viable in terms of commercial space flight, and they're working on it daily. And these people are the brightest minds we know of right now that are in this jet propulsion space travel business. There's, Virgin's working on something. There's a couple other companies that are working on things as well. And then you have NASA, which worked. The best they could come up with was the space shuttle.
Right.
Do you think that there was something way better than the space shuttle that they just never used, and that they had, and they kept it on the back burner, didn't want to let anybody know? But the way they would use it is they would pick people up and erase their memory and toy with their asshole. That's crazy.
Well,
that's less likely than the hundreds of billions of galaxies, just in our own known universe, right? Each one with hundreds of billions of stars. Each star with who knows how many fucking planets. That's somewhere out there that's something more advanced than us. Maybe 1,000 years, maybe 1,000,000 years. But that's figured out how to come here.
I got the same question then. Why hasn't anyone discovered them? Why has SETI failed? Search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Why haven't the chimps invented guns?
They've started using more tools, but
right. Why haven't they invented guns though?
I don't know.
So why hasn't SETI found UFOs? It's the same fucking answer. They're not advanced enough yet. It's a real simple answer.
From the brief highway stop that defined the hills, the physical claims jumped to a full-blown vanishing in the timberlands that lasted nearly a week. And Travis Walton's account becomes the next test of how far these encounters can stretch reality.
Of it being A, B, or C, but hey, this is what happened, whatever it is. Yeah, that's hard to find that.
Exactly. There's also this thing where people want to be one of the people that see a UFO.
Of course.
Because it makes you special.
Yeah.
It makes you special. Yeah, so they want to, it's hard. I'll tell you what, this fucking guy, Travis Walton, this is one of the craziest stories. He's the guy that was in that
Fire in the Sky, right?
Fire in the Sky. That one's wild, man. That one's wild because that guy was missing for 5 days or however many days it was, and then turns up and has this story that's similar to so many other stories.
But what?
In 1975, Arizona logger Travis Walton disappeared for 5 days after a UFO sighting with his crew. He claimed alien abduction. The case inspired the film Fire in the Sky.
Did his friends see him disappear?
Yeah.
They saw him get taken?
No, they saw him walk up to the spacecraft, and they saw, as he got close to the spacecraft, some sort of beam of light hit him, and he falls to the ground, and they panicked. So they get in their car, allegedly, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
They drive off. They're all screaming and yelling at each other, we have to go back. We can't leave him there. We have to go back. They get like a mile down the road, and they're like fighting with each other. And they go, okay, we're going to go back. And they go back, and he's gone. The craft's gone. He's gone. And then many days later, he shows up with this crazy story in the town, wearing the same clothes, and doesn't know how he got there, and calls for help. And he says that he was abducted and taken aboard this craft, and they fixed him. They realized that they had blasted him with this beam of energy that came off of this spaceship, and then they brought him back on and repaired him. He talked about the different kinds of beings that he encountered and what the experience was like. And, you don't know what that is. What does that mean? Maybe it was ball lightning, and maybe when he approached the ball lightning, he got hit and electrocuted.
Sure.
And maybe he had a near-death experience. And maybe in that near-death experience, he had some psychedelic imagination of this experience where he was in contact with other beings. Or maybe during those near-death experiences, your brain really does produce a chemical gateway that opens up a portal to something that's around you all the time, but you're never in contact with. And that's what happened. So what he's interpreting as being taken aboard a UFO and brought to some place, maybe whatever that experience was, whatever the thing was that hit, whatever that phenomenon that hit him, whether it was ball lightning or something else, when you get hit and you almost die and your brain has this experience and it's opening up this chemical gateway to things that are around you all the time, and then you come back, you have this version of a thing where you're in a physical craft, you're being taken away and the aliens are working on you. But it might just be that you got to death's door. And
it's probably a much better story. Like, it's much easier to think that this amazing thing happened to you other than I got hit by lightning and laid there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that story sucks. Like, nobody likes that story.
Right.
Walked
You
around.
laid there and almost died and went into a near-death experience where your soul transcended into some new dimension and you interacted with this well of souls that surround us all the time. You're not capable of experiencing it and seeing it with regular human eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a better story. And again, I don't think it's a lie. Maybe people just convince themselves of it.
One man's week-long disappearance already rewrites the rules of evidence. Yet soon the talk turns to creatures like the Chupacabra and Mothman that refuse easy classification as either animal or alien, paving the way for a mass sighting by Zimbabwe schoolchildren that multiplies the witnesses dramatically.
Mothman, but it's an intriguing story because when you have multiple witnesses, like as far as the UFO, I will go back to Bigfoot, but the aerial encounter, the school children at the aerial school in Zimbabwe in the 90s. Do you know this story? John Mack was working on it.
No.
Two beings landed in two different craft, and they encountered these school children all in elementary school. And now they've come back, and they're interviewing them now in their adult time. And it's amazing how their stories synchronize. Why would all of them conspire to make something up?
Okay, we're dealing with two different things.
And the Mothman, there were 4 really credible kids there that said they saw it. You know.
Man. The UFO thing is less preposterous than anything because
in 1994, 62 children at Aerial School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe reported seeing a silver UFO land nearby and beings that telepathically warned about environmental harm.
Because we are currently sending spaceships into orbit. We are currently sending probes to Mars. We're involved, deeply involved in the exploration of our solar system, at least with these robots and drones and things that we can control. All that makes 100% sense to me.
With the witness count exploding thanks to those school children, the focus now pivots to the skies, where fighter pilots describe their own brushes with the unexplained and spark a debate over whether aliens are masters of subtlety or something far bolder.
Elon says he hasn't seen anything.
Yeah, I'm super suspicious when he says that. Super
suspicious that they haven't told him, or that he's maybe playing a little hide the ball.
If I was him, I'd play hide the ball. Yeah. If I'm running SpaceX, I'm working with NASA, and I already got in trouble smoking weed on a Joe Rogan Experience. I would fucking play ball. Let's play ball. Aliens, I have no evidence.
No idea.
They sure are subtle.
Yep.
That's what he says. They sure are subtle. It depends on who you are. If you're one of those people that's seen those things, if you're like Commander David Fravor, or if you're Ryan Graves. You know the Ryan Graves story?
No.
The fighter pilot, and they upgraded their equipment in 2014, and all of a sudden, because of the new capabilities of their equipment, they were able to see these objects at a far distance that were moving at insane rates of speed, that were hovering dead still at 120 knot winds,
right.
at no visible means of propulsion. They don't know what the fuck they're doing,
right.
and they were encountering them like every couple of weeks. And then there was some pilots were encountering them with eyewitness accounts. They say there's video footage of it, but of course nobody can get a hold of that. It's like the whole thing is very strange.
Okay, so here's something. So the a lot of people worried about AI are like, we need to shut it down before it like causes problems.
Right.
Like wake up the demon, cause an issue, get something on Earth that hates us and wants to kill us. Arguably the thing we should have shut down from the very beginning was radio.
Radio.
Right, because we've been like broadcasting radio waves for the last 120 years, and the radio waves don't stop once they leave Earth's atmosphere. They keep going. And so we now have radio waves of human activity that have radiated out 120 light years.
Is that bad?
Well, depends. Are there hostile aliens within 120 light years? And so but maybe that was the original sin. And then of course television, of course, made that problem much worse.
Right. We would have to think of like a hostile, militaristic empire that took over a whole planet and then started exploring the solar system. Not one that we like to think of aliens as being evolved, hyper intelligent, beyond ego and war. They've bypassed all that, and now they're into science and exploration. And
Well, here's the question though: is like, would aliens have a sense of humor, right? Would they like be able to differentiate between truth and fiction, right? And so, like, for example, suppose they're sitting in their advanced alien base on Gemini 9 or whatever, and they're receiving 30 years, 20 years after the fact episodes of Fear Factor, right? And they think that you're actually like torturing people, and they figure that in order to preserve the human rights of humanity, they need to invade as a consequence of your show and take over and protect us.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, but if they don't have a sense of humor, if they don't know
even if they don't have a sense of humor, they can clearly see that these people are in a contest.
Why would they even have a concept of a contest? I mean, how silly is that? A serious species
it's competition.
Wouldn't do such things.
But a serious species started out as a dumb species.
No,
unless they're magic.
You're hoping that they understand these things.
Yes.
Because it would really suck to be the guy whose TV show caused the invasion.
If there's anything, it would be American Gladiators.
Oh, okay, all right.
That would be the start of it.
It'd be like this species is so warlike they can't stop.
No, what would be like the start? What would be the one thing that would be like, that's enough? It would have to be news. It would have to be war. I mean, that would be, forget about Fear Factor.
Yep.
We're broadcasting, the images of the Vietnam War.
Yeah, or maybe they saw movies about alien invasions and they thought we'd been invaded by other aliens.
Right.
Yeah,
like what if Mars attacks is the first things they get?
Exactly.
So you like having the mystery of the idea out there. Like, it's fun for you.
I don't want we need adventure, right?
If someone came to you, someone from on high, and said, listen, we have to promise you to secrecy, but we want to show you some things because I think it's pertinent to some of the things you're working on.
I'm in.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm going to drop my
Me too. I'm not telling nobody. I'll come in here and be just like Elon.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, sure, all subtle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just too interesting to know.
Yep.
But I think eventually I'd tell.
Yep.
Ryan Graves is a former U.S. Navy FA-18 pilot who publicly disclosed his squadron's frequent encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena after radar upgrades around 2014.
I think I'd feel terrible.
Yep.
I'd feel a responsibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
Someday.
Well, that's what some of these guys are saying. Like Grush, he's saying that once he found out about the program, he felt like he had a responsibility. Like if they really have a crashed UFO retrieval program, like why don't you tell people? Like you should not. The military companies shouldn't be the ones that have access to this only, and the whoever is determining that this is above top secret clearance and nobody can get a hold of it except for this very select few people. Like, says who? This is something that involves the whole human race.
Right.
Like, I know if they do had something, I would imagine that it's of interest to national security that you develop this kind of technology before the competitors do. That clearly makes sense.
How public can these encounters get before any claim of subtlety collapses? Cockpit stories give way to a Brazilian town full of people who all saw the same impossible thing, with matching details that start to pile up and challenge easy explanations.
He's got that crazy one about the Varginha, Brazil sighting. Do you know?
The 1996 Varginha UFO incident involved Brazilian residents reporting a crashed craft and wounded alien-like creatures, one taken to hospital. A police officer died of mysterious infection.
You know about that one?
Mm-mm.
That one's nuts. Like, the whole town saw this thing. It crashed in the 90s. And they have like a statue of this thing, like as you're entering into the city.
Yep.
And supposedly, this is the crazy story, there was a wounded alien.
Mm-hmm.
One of the police officers carried this wounded alien in the back of a car. They brought it to a hospital. There's records of them bringing this to the hospital. The hospital said, we can't handle this. We have no take it to a different hospital. So they took it to another hospital.
Yep.
Then the guy who carried the thing gets a severe bacterial infection that's unresponsive to antibiotics and dies.
Whoa.
Yeah, young, healthy, fighting age man gets this weird infection after handling this creature. Multiple witnesses say they saw another one of them. There was like a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was injured that they picked up, and then there was another one that was there. And then many people in the town said that they saw another craft come by to retrieve those aliens. It's a really nutty story because it's the same story is told independently by a bunch of people.
Yet those public mass sightings only heighten the demand for irrefutable proof, especially once Starlink satellites start getting mistaken for fleets of craft, while $1 million bounty dangles for anyone with real footage, and a Vegas incident adds fresh fuel to the fire.
Thinking it's UFOs?
Oh, yeah.
Like people keep filming it flying. What is that?
Yeah, the dots in the air.
Dude, everybody's looking for UFOs now, like more than ever.
Yeah. Ring cameras are putting out $1 million bounty. If you catch something on your Ring cameras right now, they will pay you $1 million.
That's good because they know they don't have to pay that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, sweet. Very smart. Did you see that one in Vegas that they captured on camera? Like the dashboard cam of a police car caught this thing streaking through the sky, and then this family said that it landed in their backyard, and that these tall creatures got out of it. They saw the tall creatures. But then when George Knapp was going to interview them, like I think it was on 2 separate occasions, they just fucking wouldn't answer the door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think also, I mean, they might have been they might have made the whole story up, right? That's most likely.
In 2023, a Las Vegas family reported tall aliens in their backyard after a fireball. Police closed the case as unfounded after investigation.
But also, imagine how freaked out you'd be if all of a sudden the whole world wanted to talk to you because of a UFO in your backyard. And I don't know if they're legal. I believe they spoke Spanish. See if you can find that story. Because it was at the beginning, I was like, whoa. And then I was like, what?
Right.
You know, it's one of those things that you want it to be true. So you start like going, whoa, what is going on with this story? And then you read it more, you read into it, and more like,
Yeah, that's all those stories, right?
Every one of them.
Yeah.
Private briefings for the elite stand in stark contrast to the public scramble for any scrap of footage, especially when those briefings supposedly include a president, a comedy legend, and a trip that could rewrite everything.
Obviously third hand. Could be total horseshit. That's it. The story was, and it's a fun story, that Jackie Gleason was drinking with Nixon, and him and Nixon were buddies, and that, you know, they're talking football and throwing back some fucking Jack and Cokes, and Nixon's like, you want to see a fucking UFO?
A UFO legend claims President Nixon took comedian Jackie Gleason to Homestead Air Force Base in 1973 to view alien bodies from a crash. Gleason's wife said he returned home shaken.
So they get an Air Force One and they fly to some military base where they've got a crashed flying saucer. And Jackie Gleason from then on becomes a crazy UFO believer. And Jackie Gleason has this backyard in upstate New York, and he has a fake UFO designed and built in his driveway to replicate the thing that he saw. He hires a bunch of people to try to recreate something. He puts it together in his head, sort of like a crime sketch, like he would try to reenact it. That's the fun story.
What if the ultimate private briefing comes not from a president or comedian, but from an astronaut who has stood on the lunar surface? The claims that follow pull ancient Earth wonders into the same frame as anomalies circling Mars, escalating the entire search for proof.
Buzz Aldrin called me up.
And he said there's water on the moon?
And he goes, they're going to crash an Indian probe in there. It's like, 2007 or something. They're going to crash an Indian probe on the moon. But I want you to know we already crashed one. They're going to find the water. I was like, thank you, Buzz Aldrin.
So he called you up?
Yep.
Does Buzz call you often?
No, he's called me like 3 times.
Are you ever shocked? Are you like, he's like, it's Alex's Buzz
Well,
Aldrin?
it actually got like 20 million views before they took it off YouTube. He was on the show one time, and he goes, my secretary really likes you. On there, he goes, is she a hottie? You're lucky I'm doing this. I'm like, well, yes, sir. And he goes, there is the moon of Mars that is where the real obelisk is, 2001. And the aliens created the pyramids. And I just wanted to tell you, Alex, you got a good...
What? He said the aliens created the pyramids?
Yeah, and there was an obelisk on Mars.
I heard that part. Yeah. That's not as shocking. The Buzz Aldrin said the aliens created the pyramids?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was contacted by Buzz Aldrin's secretary. And
okay.
I'm not making this up. This is real.
I don't believe you are.
And so it's like, whenever this was, like 12 years ago, whatever, 10 years ago, whatever it was. Like, hey, Buzz Aldrin wants to come on. So we checked. It's Buzz Aldrin. He wants to talk about his new book. And once he gets on, he goes, it is the sole moon, Choron, or whatever it's called. Look up the moon of, I went off memory, so I get this stuff wrong sometimes, of Mars. And he goes, that is where the true obelisk is, and that will give us the depth.
The Phobos monolith is a large natural boulder on Mars's moon Phobos, about 90 meters tall. Buzz Aldrin has publicly mentioned this unusual rock formation.
the tapes to go to the next level, and I just wanted you to know that because you're a good person, that the pyramids were created by aliens and we're doing important work.
There he is. Buzz Aldrin admits aliens built the pyramids and Phobos monument. Oh, the monolith.
Yeah, he said it after he talked to me on C-SPAN, yeah. And
so he
Phobos,
said it? He really said aliens built the pyramids?
Still, those dramatic claims from the lunar surface leave the origin of the searchers themselves unexplained, raising the possibility that alien intervention shaped our evolution, or that Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory holds the secret to our sudden intelligence.
We're a very, very, very bizarre creature, and I think I would most certainly study us.
Have you ever thought that maybe we were created by their specifications?
All the time.
Me too.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
That's the big mystery of the human brain size, right? The human brain size doubled over a period of 2 million years. And there's a lot of cool, like my favorite story is Terence McKenna's. He had this theory.
Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory proposes that early humans eating psilocybin mushrooms catalyzed brain evolution, language, and culture around 100,000 years ago.
It's called the stoned ape theory, and it's about psilocybin, and that these chimpanzees and lower primates started experimenting with psilocybin, and then over the course of a couple of million years, they developed language, they developed this ability to hunt better, fashion tools, more creativity, glossolalia, attaching sounds to objects, and that makes sense. Some sort of telepathy, increased visual acuity that does come from low-dose psilocybin use. And that seems to me like that makes a lot of sense because it coincides with climate change. When McKenna did this whole theory about it, one of the things he talked about is that the exact time that the rainforests recede into grasslands because of this change in the climate is the time where these animals emerge, start walking on two legs, and then start eating mushrooms, he thinks, and then 2 million years later become people.
Okay.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. But the most interesting one is they came here. They saw us. We were like Australopithecus. We were some hairy creature that was kind of primate. Like maybe we even started using tools. And they said, let's fuck with that DNA. Let's make a labradoodle.
I don't think people think big enough in regards to that kind of thing. Because like if we had the technology to do what alleged aliens do, we would be doing all sorts of crazy stuff all the time.
100%.
And I don't know.
If we could introduce intelligent life into a planet, if there was life on a planet and we could introduce our DNA into these lower primates and make them more like us, you don't think we would do it?
Yes.
100%, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we monkey with all kinds of things all the time. We're always messing around with creatures' DNA. I mean, there's a story that we talked about recently during World War I in Russia, where Russia was experimenting with hybridizing human beings and chimpanzees for soldiers.
Orangutans too.
Yes.
Didn't they? They switched brains with an orangutan and a human, and I guess the human with the orangutan brain never regained consciousness, but evidently the human brain in the orangutan did regain consciousness.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they do that?
I don't know, but I only know this from a Monster Quest.
Is that real? Monster Quest might be a little full of shit.
But hard evidence has a way of cutting through speculation like that, and soon the discussion turns to those strange square structures on Mars, the ones that Joe has discussed at length with Elon Musk about their possible meaning.
Well, you know, they think Mars used to have a full atmosphere. And do you know that there's structures on Mars that they've observed even recently that look like perfect squares that are huge?
Huh.
There's this one that I showed to Elon. I go, what is that? Tell me, what do you think that is? Like, well, we should probably go there and look around. Like, yeah, we should probably go there and look around.
He's the guy to do it.
But what is, like, he didn't want to say what he thought it was, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, do you think this could have been at one point in time a structure? Because it has perfect right angles and it's a square and it's huge.
Right.
They said it's at least hundreds of meters across, but it might be miles across. It's rough estimates, but they know it's large. Have you seen it? Jamie will show it to you. But it's like a literal square. There's a bunch of shit that's weird there. That's like the face on Mars, but I'm not totally convinced about that. But that one's nuts. Like, that's kind of crazy. Didn't that look kind of crazy?
It's on the right?
Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That looks like a fucking square.
Oh, yeah, that looks like a foundation.
A 2001 NASA Mars orbiter photo shows a large, roughly square geological feature about 250 meters across. It went viral in 2025 after Joe Rogan shared it and Elon Musk suggested sending astronauts to investigate.
I mean, tell me what the fuck that is. What is that?
Right.
That does not look normal. Those angles don't look normal at all. That lower left-hand corner, like, what is that? And then the fact that it's roughly a square. I mean, I don't know if it's a square or a rectangle. It seems like it's a little taller than it is wide.
Right.
But whatever it is, it looks like a fucking structure, man. It's weird.
Well, just because we can't exist there doesn't mean other life forms can't exist there.
Or other life forms used to exist there.
Right.
Like, imagine if there was, like, if there's life on Earth right now, today, and if Mars at one point in time had a sustainable atmosphere, like millions and millions of years ago, what if there was life on Mars? What if we are the offspring of the life on Mars? What if those fucking guys just realized, like, hey, this place is falling apart. Let's shoot over to Earth and reestablish.
Something. Yeah.
I mean, that might be why we're so different than every other primate that's here.
I never thought about it like that. That might be true. I just think it's so vast and we know so little about everything. It's possible. That's just I kind of like broaden it that way, where it's like, it's all possible. The universe is infinite and we know very little about it.
Yeah, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
It's just not likely. I mean, it seems, because you haven't seen anything. Like, it's not likely.
But we're trying to use our logical brains to figure out. It's like, could this be possible? It's like, there's so much we don't know. And we have such a limited scope with our human minds to even comprehend stuff. So it's like, you know.
Confirming alien engineering on Mars would still leave the most important question hanging. Friend or foe? That uncertainty leads straight into comparing extraterrestrial visitors to the good and evil forces already at work on Earth, and to how we ourselves behave toward other species.
If you had a friend that's like, hey, like, if a couple people could see it, you would be terrified.
Imagine if society had gotten to a point, at one point in time, where artificial intelligence and human brains mixed, and we created a super class of species, like a new thing that's both technological and biological.
Yeah.
And only a small number of beings got that.
I mean,
and those beings, for some reason, left us here the way we are.
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing with these aliens. Those are humans that went down the road that we're going down right now.
And they were like, dude, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah, and then maybe there was like all the disasters that happened, like the Younger Dryas impact, the asteroids hit, and all that stuff, and level society. But they escape because they're interdimensional travelers.
Yeah, they're like, we're going to get the fuck out of here. It's like leaving a house. You're just like, I don't care about this house anymore.
Now we're somewhere else. They don't need food anymore. They probably work on nuclear energy or something. There's probably some crazy power source.
Or like antimatter.
Yeah,
it's like a thing that we would never even think of.
Yeah, they don't need to breed.
The thing that the Jimmy Carter brief, did you know about this? When where they briefed him and it like broke him emotionally? Yes. Where he was like so upset where they were like, hey, by the way, they've been here forever. Like he was like a deeply religious man.
Well, Tucker Carlson's talked about this recently.
Really?
Yeah, Tucker Carlson said that he believes that they've always been here, and he believes that it's probably he was talking about like good and evil, and that we know that good exists and we know that evil exists.
Sure,
we know that people are capable of doing evil. Like these are real forces in the world.
Yeah,
and what people are saying is that these experiences that some people are having with like benevolent ones, that this is the stories of demons. This is the stories of the Bible. That there's races that are evil. There's alien races that don't give a fuck, just like there's praying mantises that eat hummingbirds.
Or, like in nature.
Just because they're super smart.
There are creatures that are aggressive, that are smart, like a hyena, and then there's like animals that are aggressive and just powerful, like lions.
And think about us, the smartest animal on the planet that we know of, and what do we do to chickens?
fuck them. No,
those chickens.
I go, no, you don't fuck. Oh, goddamn. This is where my whole world unravels. I go, Joe, I fuck chickens, dude. I don't know. I didn't think you were going to get me like that. But yeah, there could be the idea of benevolent aliens, of like, the idea that there are aliens that are good and aliens that are bad scares me so much more, because you're just like, please leave me alone. And like, good ones, bail me out of it. I mean,
but imagine like if something became super intelligent, but in a more balanced environment. Like, instead of the way humans are so much more intelligent than everything else.
Yeah.
What if there was other shit around that was pretty close to us?
So you're saying, like, what if the food chain, the gap wasn't as big between 1 and 2?
Right. Would we ever?
That would be a lot nicer to each other.
Right, but would we ever get to this point? That's the thing.
I think if it did, it would be a slower roll.
Way slower,
But
right?
I also believe that community and empathy would be higher if we had
less of us, more danger,
more of a threat.
More threat.
If there was like I tried this as a bit, but it never worked. If dolphins had legs, like if they just came out, because they rape, and like if dolphins came out and just on land, and you'd be like, because they're all muscle, so they would just fuck our shit up.
Oh, they'd kill you.
Yeah, a dolphin that could breathe.
Yeah,
comparing them to earthly forces of good and evil still assumes we can't grasp their motives at all. Attention then moves to the possibility of civilizations so advanced they exist beyond anything human imagination can currently hold.
I think, we had Jesse Michaels on yesterday, who has this amazing show on YouTube, probably the best YouTube show on aliens and UFOs and UAPs, and he's very agnostic in his thinking, and he's very objective, and he also is very, very, very thorough as far as his understanding of the information. And even he is baffled as much as he knows, but he knows more about siloed technology than pretty much anybody does in regard to this UAP phenomenon.
Right.
And he points to this guy, Thomson Brown, who was working on gravity technology in the 1950s. They had working models. Like he thinks that they have some sort of a gravity propulsion device. But then there's things like Roswell, where the crash, like if all those stories are true, that's too early. It's 47. There's too early. There's no way they had working models of these devices back then. So he thinks it's possible. He's not I know this is true. He thinks it's possible that it is both United States government secret projects that people are seeing, and there's probably quite a few of them. We actually pulled a few of them up and showed some of them that look like UFOs that probably is part of what people are seeing. But he thinks is also probable that there's some other things. And these other things could be from anywhere. And then there's just the Fermi paradox. Like, if they're all out there, where are they? There's so many planets. There's so many galaxies.
Well, that's got to be the case.
It has to be the case. It's the question of whether or not they have visited or whether or not they're here.
Right.
And then there's these like weird Peruvian mummies that we went over, these tridactyl mummies that they take CAT scans of, and you see the tissue and the bones, and they were all found in what is it called? What's the kind of earth that they found that these things are? The dye something. Do you remember what it is? Where they were all dried out.
I know exactly what the description, but I don't remember the word.
Something earth. I know the word. I can't. It's escaping me right now. All that stuff's very fascinating.
So
all
fascinating.
The ancient depictions on cave walls of these things, and we pulled up these tapestries that are 1,000 years old that had these 3-fingered creatures. Very weird. Very weird. But that doesn't mean they're alien.
Right.
We talked rather about all the various versions of human beings that they're finding now. From Denisovans to the island of Flores, Hobbit people. There's a weird variety of humans that went extinct.
Right.
And these tridactyl things could very well have been that.
Yeah, it was Christopher Mellon on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Because he had, I don't want to butcher it, but I think he called it ultra-terrestrial. It makes the most sense, which is, think about right now if you just dropped a bottle in the ocean, right? What are the odds you ever run into that bottle in the ocean? It's impossible. That's what time is. If we've been around for 13 billion years, sure, there's aliens, but we've only been around for a few thousand. Like, it's such an it's a grain of sand in the whole beach. So what would you do right now if we had technology 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, right? AI, multiply it out, the whole nine. What would you do? You'd send these things everywhere.
Sure.
Just like sci-fi, and you'd plant them, and you'd come out every now and again and check what's up.
Sure.
So that's I don't my likeliest thing is I don't think there's any biological beings or aliens. I think you've just got automated drones in essence that are running patterns that have some sort of I don't know. That makes way more sense.
It certainly could be that. I mean, that's what we're doing currently on Mars.
Right.
And it's what we do with probes. With the James Webb Telescope, a lot of the different things that we use. We just send a machine out and get information from it.
Existence beyond imagination still leaves the practical nightmare of contact unresolved. Hopeful pictures of peaceful exchange crash into the reality that every living system, human or otherwise, tends to dominate and exploit whatever sits lower on the chain.
So what happened? Aliens?
We were talking about Stephen Hawking and how Stephen Hawking has this idea that if we ever do make contact with aliens, the best move would be to ignore them, because if they ever come to our planet, the chances are they're not only going to exploit us but destroy us. I mean, he didn't say it in exactly those words, but he generally has a pessimistic view, and I think that that's a well-informed, intelligent view. There's no reason to have an optimistic view about that. But Daniel Pinchbeck seems to have this idea that we'll
altruistic
all
aliens
be friends and we'll all drink ayahuasca
Oh, that's
together.
so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I don't think so. If you look at every single organism that we can observe on this earth, it takes advantage of the weaker organisms, including the most intelligent. We take advantage of dolphins. We put them in
Absolutely,
fucking
that's exactly
fish
what I was saying
tanks.
as well. Yeah.
We look at killer whales. We don't give a fuck. We lock them up in tanks. We know they're intelligent. We just can't understand them, and so we force them into slavery.
And that's not mentioning humans to humans,
Right,
the
sure.
conquistadors. And Native Americans.
But with animals that we don't understand, intelligent animals that we understand, we regularly enslave them for people's enjoyment to watch on television. And then we believe somehow or another that some super intelligent organism is going to show different behavior than what every single organism on this earth, including the highest us, the most aware us. We do it worse than any of them. We do it worse than dolphins. We do it worse than killer whales. We have chimps. We lock chimps up. We don't give a fuck.
Even by humane people that love the chimps still keep them in, or people that love chimps keep them in cages. People that love dolphins keep them in tanks. Don Lilly kept his dolphins in a tank.
Yeah.
So even if they were trying to be nice to us, who's to say that it wouldn't be some nightmarish?
It's fucking hell
scenario.
for that dolphin, man. It's got to be hell. They're intelligent. They just can't change their environment. We know they have dialects and they have crazy societal rules, and dolphins have they have a huge attachment to their family and their loved ones. To just snatch one up and stick it in a fish tank is fucked up. But we do it. Why would we think that aliens wouldn't do that to us? We are crazy. Could you imagine if you came down here and you watch all these little pink monkeys with their fucking bang sticks and nuclear weapons? You found out that people had nuclear weapons. You see them at home slack-jawed watching the Kardashians. We have nuclear weapons. The same animal, the same animal. And it's all going on right now.
Yeah, but to aliens, it was probably cute. It's like,
came
oh,
here
look at
and
them
you were an
in their
alien,
nuclear
you would want to
weapons.
shut this whole fucking show down. You'd be like, you're going to ruin this whole planet, you stupid fuck.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this compilation, please consider subscribing to the Podcast Zone for more content like this.